Hello and welcome. So, as part of our series of events that we're doing for Mental Health Awareness Week, and the project has joined up with Sara Osterholzer from the Good Business Club, and we're going to be talking to her today about how good businesses can impact positively on their employees' mental health, but also have a greater positive impact on society as a whole. We're really looking forward to speaking with her today.
I set the Good Business Club with the co-founder Ruth Anslow because we've been in a space of kind of working and supporting and getting good businesses off the ground, and there are many awesome people who are like-minded doing great stuff, but they're all very disconnected from each other. So we set up the club just to bring together kind of awesome people doing good stuff to help them create a community where they can kind of lean on and get support from, and be able to support and work with each other and find collaboration so that we're all supporting businesses that are doing good to thrive. And yeah, just over a year and a half old, kind of focused in Brighton at the moment, looking at how we can kind of get further afield to connect more people who are doing like-minded stuff.
Great, joining the revolution. And what to you or to the Good Business Club is a good business?
It's a great question, and I will obviously share it in terms of us as a club and as an individual, kind of what I see, I guess, because there's no real definition of what good business is. But for us, it's about businesses that kind of have a purpose beyond just making profit, and they're looking at how they can positively contribute to either people or the planet in some way. And they really come in like all shapes and sizes. So everything from sole traders to big organizations, and what we see as a way of kind of defining them is how they have the impact, whether that be internally and what they're doing. So they might be looking at how they're hiring and taking on staff, being more equal in terms of opportunities that they offer. It could be they're looking at staff well-being and personal development within organizations in a different way, or look at how they manage or share their profits in different ways as well, or looking at things like infrastructure, so looking at the buildings or the systems, and having a better impact in terms of the environment or the community in that way, or looking at a supply chain, for instance, and working with people who are doing better stuff. And there's others that are kind of also looking externally to that. So they're going like, what actually can we contribute to the world that we're living in? And it could be everything from certain clients that you take on or don't take on. It could be how you can share resources, whether that be time or money or skills, and contribute to society in some way as well. And I think for us, what really, I guess, differentiates anyone in terms of looking at that is the kind of conscious effort that they're making to kind of incorporate this into the business. So it's not just an add-on, it's really part of the kind of core values of what they're doing, even though they can look kind of different and their why might be slightly different. It's a very kind of conscious effort around it. I will obviously share it in terms of us as a club and as an individual, kind of what I see, I guess, because there's no real definition of what good business is. But for us, it's about businesses that kind of have a purpose beyond just making profit, and they're looking at how they can positively contribute to either people or the planet in some way. And they really come in like all shapes and sizes. So everything from sole traders to big organizations, and what we see as a way of kind of defining them is how they have the impact, whether that be internally and what they're doing. So they might be looking at how they're hiring and taking on staff, being more equal in terms of opportunities that they offer. It could be they're looking at staff well-being and personal development within organizations in a different way, or look at how they manage or share their profits in different ways as well, or looking at things like infrastructure, so looking at the buildings or the systems, and having a better impact in terms of the environment or the community in that way, or looking at a supply chain, for instance, and working with people who are doing better stuff. And there's others that are kind of also looking externally to that. So they're going like, what actually can we contribute to the world that we're living in? And it could be everything from certain clients that you take on or don't take on. It could be how you can share resources, whether that be time or money or skills, and contribute to society in some way as well. And I think for us, what really, I guess, differentiates anyone in terms of looking at that is the kind of conscious effort that they're making to kind of incorporate this into the business. So it's not just an add-on, it's really part of the kind of core values of what they're doing, even though they can look kind of different and their why might be slightly different. It's a very kind of conscious effort around it. Like I said, everyone's why will be slightly different for each person. And I think for me, like I've always just seen business as a tool to contribute to the world in some way. And I think there's a lot of systems that exist already in society that aren't really changing things very well. So they're either, you know, out of date, and yeah, just not working, kind of falling apart a little bit. And for me, business is just another tool. So it's really agile structure actually that you can allows for innovation, you can get fresh perspectives, and also you can come together as a collective really powerfully to do something really good. And I guess I've seen and heard lots of examples of people who've just used it as a tool to make change happen really quickly in the world. So for me, that's I guess why business should be doing it, is because it's a really powerful tool to be able to kind of positively contribute to the world. As a business case, it's so much easier now to talk about it than it was even 5 years ago, where we used to talk about, you know, this potential shift that was coming. There were people who were like kind of pioneering. We had kind of terminology about what that all looked like. Whereas now it's quite impossible to ignore that, you know, there's a new generation that are much more purpose driven. There are consumers that are literally making purchasing decisions or boycotting brands based on their actions or inactions. You know, we're seeing a real change in perspective as well from employees in terms of what they want from work and careers. And there's things like even just like natural resources that are just not unlimited anymore, and also new materials that are actually becoming much more accessible. And it's less a balance between kind of cost and doing good. And it's actually becoming a space of like, actually, if you aren't changing, you're going to become outdated, and actually the ones that are the ones that are going to succeed and be more profitable. So for me, it's actually less of a let's convince people as a business case here. It's more like, if you're not thinking about this right now, you know, you're going to be missing out, and therefore your business is just not going to become obsolete at some point. So I think that's really exciting to be at the stage now where it's less of trying to make the case and like convince people, and just going, look, I mean, watch, you know, we have everything from big companies and small companies that are changing and becoming more successful, and it's less of a case now of like, you know, there's something to give up. It's actually a much more better decision in terms of also being sustainable.
Yeah.
It's interesting when we talk about mental health, and the way I've also, I guess, used the terminology, I think more about your headspace, because I think it really is more about just being human. And when you connect it to work, it's interesting because to live a more fulfilling and a kind of a life that you really enjoy, it's all about reducing stress, it's about creating opportunities to kind of be and be more grounded, less doing, more being, and also just finding things that really actually energize you. And a lot of that comes round to purpose. And I think we've kind of created this understanding that work is the kind of purpose that you've got. And when you kind of have all of those things working for you, you end up being quite a good headspace.
Yeah.
So when we're talking about, I guess, contributing to communities, there's a huge sense of kind of achievement there. Like contributing, I think, to other people's life is one of the most gratifying things people can do. And if you can support people in your organization to be able to get that sense of satisfaction and achievement and gratification by giving to other people, it's where they're going to find purpose. And it kind of goes to that conversation like we had before around, you know, work is changing. What people want from work and careers is different. And I think this part of contributing and doing more than just sitting at your desk and doing the work is also going to shift. And it's a great thing in terms of linking it to like actually the impact, not just in terms of I guess there's some like productivity and some of those things and the doing good factor, but you can actually allow someone as a human to get so much more from work that's going to give them a much better headspace in going into work. So I think for me, like that's a huge thing to be able to do, is give people in your work just something more than just doing the work. The most creative kind of questions to think about when people talk about, you know, businesses that are doing good and what can you do, it will look different for different businesses. And I think the thing where you should really start is by looking at what's important for you and your team, so what that kind of size looks like, and kind of come up with some really collective values. of what's important for you, and then kind of move on from there. So you can then start exploring, you know, what can you offer or contribute. So it could be everything from, like, very generally it normally is money, like, oh, you can just donate to charity, but there's so much more. You can give time, again, resources, your skills, even just connecting with people, or like changing who your suppliers are, actually giving people business can be really powerful. So I think looking at that and looking at actually as a team what's important to you, and making it less of a like, oh, what can we do, and just tick box, and really look at what you can really empower both you and the communities you're trying to empower as well. So everything from, it could be, like I said, like you could change your marketing agency or who you go to get your printing done. You can look at, I guess, having your staff offer their time and expertise to a local initiative, and it's maybe doing the same thing, but it's doing it for someone who needs it more in a different way. Even just by finding like online training that supports your employees to deal with, you know, what's going on right now, could be a massive way that they contribute to them, but also the communities that they're in as well. So I think it's a really kind of creative space, and it can be a bit daunting when it's not very easy of the things to do. But I think it's really important to look at what you as a team really value and start from there and create something that you're all like contributing to, that's giving a lot to community, but it's also giving you something as well. And actually, for me, kindness doesn't change. Like it doesn't change whether what context it's in. I think, you know, it's really about consideration for others, and I think so I do a lot of support for people, so consideration is really important when you're supporting people, but it's also acting generously. But I think, you know, I guess kindness sometimes is that element of like, we always have this narrative sometimes in our head of things that we should or shouldn't do, and we sometimes just hold back a little bit, like either we think we might look bad, or we might do it the wrong way, or we kind of just justify that someone else might do it. And I think kindness is kind of stepping outside of that and doing that thing that actually, you know, get past those barriers and contributing to other people. I think we all have that in us, and we sometimes hold back because we, you know, normally actually, especially when we're talking about like good business and doing good, people think they might, you know, they don't know how to do it well enough, or like someone else knows better. And even just small steps and doing something can be just really powerful. So I think for me that's the main thing, is considering what other people need and then just being in action around it.
Yeah.
I mean, absolutely. I really believe that you know, the way that business is being done is shifting, and we're just seeing it more and more. I've been working in this space specifically, actually started working with social enterprises for the last like 6 years, and it's just becoming, like I said, it's just becoming a norm, which is why I can so confidently say, if you're not thinking about this, you're just not going to survive as a business. And it's the only way it's to be done. So really get on board with that. Otherwise, you're just not going to survive. And going back to the element of just being human. So as humans, we're impacted by, you know, our surroundings, by the people that we're with, things like the culture of a team, the way we're listened to, like the opportunities we have. Some people like appreciate contributing, the projects that we kind of take on, or just like the growth opportunities that we kind of given. And I think that's like more or less everything that the employee actually is impacting you on. So if you think about the businesses that you're running, every aspect is going to be impacting people. So really thinking about all those, I think like when we talked about the different spaces of doing good, like just looking at your people and the culture is a massive place you can have a massive impact in, because those people have people in their lives, and that impact that can spread out to is huge. So if you can create a space where each individual is feeling empowered, is feeling like they've got opportunities, is feeling like they're contributing, has that sense of, I guess, autonomy in some way, that is a huge space you can look at. And I think there's a whole world of that, of, I guess, either leadership and kind of culture, that's, yeah, super exciting in terms of how people are shifting the way the businesses are being done and the culture in them, that really, really impacts every individual that comes and works for you.
Yeah.
I would say definitely is shifting, but for anyone who still has the mindset of businesses that are existing to make profit at all costs, really that needs to shift. And I think like people, society and planet need to be kind of compared in a very equal measure, and that I think means like redesigning some of the business functions and like questioning some of the traditional models and that just aren't fit for purpose anymore, and creating something that's kind of new, that really incorporates all those things into it. So I think it kind of needs a bit of out of the box thinking, but at the same time there's a lot of people who have kind of started playing around with this, so really going and just being inspired by what other people are doing and being brave enough to incorporate that into your business as well. I think that kind of, I guess, bravery and out of the box thinking is what really needs to shift. I think one thing that can be really powerful is just checking in with people and kind of creating a really safe and trusted space right now to communicate. So and even just asking them actually, like, what would make a difference for you right now? And even on a very fundamental level, just creating work that works, even if it is like starting later, maybe having more breaks, like whatever that kind of looks like, I think is really important, because something has really shifted for people in terms of the way they work. And if you just ask people, I'm sure they'll be able to say what actually can have a massive impact for them, and it could be something so small that would be so easy to do. So I think that's a massive thing people can do. And then the other thing I think that really exists out there right now is a lot of kind of online either kind of training or events or like products and services that are created by really I guess knowledgeable people around managing change and anxiety and like stress. So allowing your staff to be able to tap into that and making the space for them to be able to become more resilient and deal with what's going on, I think one will support them immediately, but also in the long term build a really resilient team that can really embrace a lot of different things as well. So I think those are two things that I would kind of recommend looking at right now. One of the biggest things I'm seeing in terms when we talk about kind of mental health and being in a good headspace, especially with business owners, is this thing that we've kind of coined work-life balance, which really for me just translates into making more time to do other things in your life. And it's interesting, I think the word balance in it is so important, not because it needs to be an equal thing of like work and life needs to be equal. I think it's more about when you find that balance, you really get that kind of focus, energy, happy space, and kind of feeling of being quite grounded in what you're doing. And that balance can look different for different people. But I do a lot of work with people around this, around creating work that actually works for them. And that is actually where I see a real shift in people's headspace, when they've actually feel like they've thought something through, they're clear on what they have to do, they're not feeling overwhelmed with things, they're not feeling like they're not achieving things. And work where you feel satisfied at the end of the week, you know, with what you've accomplished, it suddenly changes actually how you then experience it. And a lot of that just actually comes down to things like routine, like action planning, taking the time to just think about what you're doing and setting yourself some sort of I guess measuring tools is massive. Like that, I think work-life balance, whatever that means to people, getting that right can massively change how you experience the world of work.
Amazing. Where can everybody find what you're up to with your business?
Cool. Yeah. So the Good Business Club, we were on all of their social media platforms, or you can link in with me on LinkedIn, Sara Osterholzer. I'm on Twitter as well if you want to kind of get in touch. Anything that you're interested in terms of, looking at connecting with other people who are doing good stuff, join the club. Otherwise, if you're looking for some support as well, especially with this headspace stuff, like as I'm doing a lot of work on it at the moment. And if you're feeling stuck and overwhelmed, don't do it on your own. There's lots of people out there who want to support you, so go and reach out to them.
That's great advice. Thank you so much, and I'm really looking forward to seeing you soon at the project.
Likewise, and thank you, really. I really appreciate contributing to this kind of topic, so thank you for having me.
Thanks, Sarah.